Supporters of former President Jacob Zuma are arriving in full force at his Nkandla homestead in KwaZulu-Natal. D-Day for Zuma to voluntarily surrender to police to start serving a 15-month jail sentence is this Sunday. Law enforcement agencies have already done a threat assessment, we are told, on the potential for civil unrest following the Constitutional Court judgment on Tuesday. Groups are meeting at Durban City Hall to start their journey to support Mr. Zuma in Nkandla. Let's cross live now to our senior reporters. We'll have Siphamandla Goke in a moment. He's out in Nkandla, but we start with Desin Tathia, who is out in Durban. As you can see those visuals there from Desin. Desin, the build-up has started in earnest towards the last day for Mr. Zuma to hand himself over to police to start serving his sentence. Who are those people and what is the objective of their gathering and their march?
Well, Tulas, the objective, I'll tell you now from having engaged very briefly with some of them, is to basically do this, show their support for the former president. You'll see that most of them are now wearing T-shirts which have Jacob Zuma's face on. Some of them are carrying banners. They had planned to do this, to have pockets of protests in different parts of the city, but it was, unfortunately for them, I would say, a bit of a slow start because they had started gathering, the first of them, from about 6 o'clock in the morning, but the protest really only got underway probably in the last hour or so. And how they did that was they had a few vehicles that were traveling down Sydney Road. Now, where we are is a little further away from that, and it's important because this is the road that now leads to the port. And initially, when I had engaged with some of those that were sharing the very little information that they had with me, they were saying that one of the intentions was to bring the port to a standstill. And it seems like they are achieving that goal somewhat because traffic here is almost at a standstill. Interestingly enough, Chulas, I must say that although police vehicles have passed, none of them have broken up this protest in this intersection, which is causing major disruptions. Let me try to get in a word with some of the protesters. How are you today? I just want to firstly hear from yourselves the primary reason for your protest. We can see that it is in support of the former president, but if you could elaborate on that.
Yes, it's in support of the former president, but as you see, we are heading to Transnet now. We are also in support of the workers here at Transnet, which is being sold, which is being privatized. As you have heard, that they want to move this port from here to Gqeberha and make sure that this port is non-functional. So we are here to show the support to those workers. This country is losing its talent because our government, the current administration, is deliberately destroying SOEs and then selling them off. So we are here to say no to privatization, but over and above that, we are against the arrest of President Zuma. As we said yesterday, we don't think he should be arrested, especially for not appearing to a commission where he had stated his reasons why he doesn't want to appear before the commission. But today he's being treated like a criminal, so we are saying no to that.
So just confirm for me, we have seen posters that have spoken about a shutdown nationally in other provinces as well. Is this part of that, or are you independent of that?
Well, we are at Ethekwini, we are doing our own thing, but I think everyone is speaking in one word and in unison that we are all against this.
Okay. I'm looking at the numbers here. Are you not concerned about these COVID-19 regulations, particularly with the third wave?
We are concerned about the COVID-19 regulations, but we are more concerned about what is happening to the economy. We are saying this lockdown shouldn't continue because people are losing jobs. We are talking about thousands of people who have lost jobs. In fact, every day we are losing thousands and thousands of jobs. Here at Transnet, people are going to be retrenched. At Eskom, they're going to be retrenched. SAA, they're already retrenched. So we cannot let the situation continue as if ANC is no longer a leader of society. As ANC members and leaders, we are here to show that the ANC remains the leader of society, and we're saying no to this thing.
I just want to separate these two issues for a second. So on the one hand, your support for the former president, and the other, your fight against privatization.
Yes.
In terms of that supporters campaign for Mr. Zuma,
yes,
what is the next step beyond this blockade? Because I imagine it won't be long before the police come here and break this up.
No, they are here. They are behind you now. Jason, you are correct. Let me tell you, yesterday we did tell them that now it's time for war. War has been declared. If they arrest President Zuma, they must know that we are going to meet them on the streets. We are going to do this every day, if it calls for us to do it every day. If they arrest him, they must know every day this economy is not going to move an inch, because we are going to wake up and do this kind of protest.
Do you not fear arrest yourself because of the contravention of the regulations?
I said yesterday they must arrest me instead of arresting President Zuma. Why are they arresting a 79-year-old man? They must take me instead of his place.
Thank you very much. Tulas, there you hear the enthusiasm with which some of the supporters are backing the former president. As they have mentioned, police have arrived, but albeit in small numbers. I just see 2 officers here, a police vehicle there. And as I mentioned, this has been going on for quite some time. This particular part of this protest has been going on at least here for the past 30 minutes or so. So it remains to see how long it will continue before police eventually break it up. But certainly the Port of Durban can't afford this kind of disruption, considering that it is one of the economic hubs in the city.
All right, eNCA's Dasan Tathia out in Durban tracking that protest. It would appear it is two-pronged. It is partly about showing support for former President Jacob Zuma, but also at the same time raising issues to do with Transnet, from what that person that was speaking to Dasan was indicating. From Durban, let's go to the north of KwaZulu-Natal, where we find eNCA's senior journalist, that is Nkandla Goke. Siphamandla, the build-up has started in earnest. The visuals we are seeing from Dasan show a build-up in other areas of KwaZulu-Natal, but you are at the business end of things. How is it looking this Friday with, 2.5 to 3 days to go for former President Jacob Zuma to voluntarily surrender to the police or face the prospect of arrest?
Relatively quiet at Nkandla today, Thulasizwe, outside former President Jacob Zuma's home. Not too many people are gathered there, but that was the plan in terms of former President Jacob Zuma's supporters and those who are organizing his supporters. They came here yesterday to make a statement. They came here to show political support. They left Nkandla. Now you are having various gathering spots in different parts of the country, whether in the Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, or even in Gauteng and Limpopo, Mpumalanga as well. I've spotted very few people from the Eastern Cape who have come this morning to show their support to the former president. My hard-working colleague, Dasan Tathia, they're mentioning police on several occasions during his live crossing with you. Bonga Mkhize will show you the presence of the police here in Nkandla, Thulasizwe, where they have conducted, or they are conducting, a roadblock operation in one of the busiest intersections which leads to former President Jacob Zuma's home. So this is where you turn when you go to former President Jacob Zuma's home. Yesterday, police were heavily criticized for not doing enough to basically stop people from gathering outside former President Jacob Zuma's home. There were too many people there, some of them not wearing masks, others not socially distancing, not sanitizing. After that, the police were deployed, but they couldn't do anything really apart from watching the gathering, and that has led to them being heavily criticized. It seems as if that criticism has led to the beefing up here and reinforcement of police officers. So we are about 5 kilometers to former President Jacob Zuma's home, and this is where this roadblock operation is taking place. I can tell you that police are searching for, and basically they are checking each and every car that goes to or towards the former president's home, or that leaves the former president's home's direction. So this is the situation here. We also expect that at around about 4 p.m. today, those purporting to be members of the MKMVA, they say they will be having a media conference today. Kalni House, who is a staunch supporter and political ally of former President Jacob Zuma, is set to address that. But we also understand that supporters of former President Jacob Zuma are still working very hard behind the scenes to ensure that on Sunday, which is the deadline for him to hand himself over, if he doesn't, he will be given 3 days. But that 3 days is just for the police commissioner and the police minister to act on taking former President Jacob Zuma to the nearest police station, which will lead to the nearest correctional services center. But in all likelihood, we are told that Westville Prison in Durban is being prepared for him.
So, speaking of Westville Prison in Durban being potentially the site where he could be serving his time, Siphamandla, what do we know of the whereabouts of the former president and what he's up to at the moment? There's talk of some kind of application?
I can confirm to you that the former president is not at Nkandla as we speak. Our sources say he is still in Durban. Ever since the judgment was handed down, he's been in Durban. He was in Gauteng when the judgment was handed down. He had to leave Gauteng to come back to KwaZulu-Natal. He's been in Durban consulting with his lawyers on two issues really. One, studying the judgment and basically trying to see what could be done, but very little it seems. But our sources are telling us that that consultation has been focusing on putting together an application which will be lodged, or they anticipate to lodge an application whereby they will be seeking to have the judgment of the Constitutional High Court rescinded. Well, we've been trying to verify that. The legal team representing former President Jacob Zuma has not confirmed nor denied that for now. We spoke to Mr. Mzwanele Manye, who speaks for the Jacob Zuma Foundation. He only said to us, listen, the former president will be addressing the nation at some point during this weekend, and the foundation has issued a very brief statement in that regard. So it would seem for now that they are busy mulling and working on that legal strategy, but time is running out for them. But we do know for a fact that the former president is still in Durban. He's busy consulting with his lawyers. Another matter that they are consulting on is the upcoming fraud and corruption case at the High Court of KwaZulu-Natal Division, sitting in Pietermaritzburg on the 19th of July.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you now, Mandla, it will be interesting to hear the legal eagles unpack whatever potential application that the former president could file. The word being used is rescission, for that decision to be rescinded. What, with the principle known as stare decisis, in as far as our courts are concerned, that our courts stand by their decisions unless they, at a later stage, find that perhaps that decision was not proper and they come to a different decision and the law changes in that way. So the Apex Court filing an application for a rescission, I'm not saying it hasn't happened, I don't know that, but I'm saying it would be very interesting to see what it would look like, that application. It would set precedent, definitely.
Absolutely it will. That's where scholars of the law, including yourself, Thulasizwe, will come in. You need to unpack this for our viewers. But it's something that many people say it's, for the former president to exhaust whatever legal avenues they think may be available for him. But we know that this judgment was by the Constitutional Court. Yes, the majority judgment, there was a minority judgment. Even on the minority judgment itself, the question of guilt for contempt of court is not argued, All justices of the Constitutional Court agree that the former president is guilty of defying a court of law, a court judgment, to go back to the Zondo Commission and participate there. So it was only on the question of sentencing him. Others would have prepared for him to go back, start at the lower courts, have this matter heard there. Others are saying actually this 15 months jail term is just something which is light for the former president, because had he gone back to the other route, which would have started at the lower courts, it could have been that the sentence would have been much more than these 15 months. But of course, that's the debate for another day. But what we know for sure is that the former president and his legal team are busy trying to check whatever avenue is available for them. So that's when we'll need to get legal experts to unpack this for us.
Yeah, look, I mean, it would be fascinating, I do say, and I repeat again, I would look forward to reading that application and actually following it very closely to get those insights as to what is the process then that they envisage in trying to, in a way, attack a decision that, until now we've known that once you've reached the Constitutional Court, the matter is done and settled in as far as the law is concerned. Lastly, Mandla, just reflect again on the issue of the police presence in that area, because, one of the concerns is that it's harder to disperse people once they've gathered. I mean, it's harder than it is to prevent a gathering from taking place.
Indeed, Bongamkize will show you again here this roadblock operation that is underway at this intersection. So what they are trying to do is basically to, I wouldn't say prevent people from going towards former President Jacob Zuma's home. They are targeting public transport, whether taxis and private cars. But my sources within the police are telling me that their main concern here, as I see that gentleman, the taxi driver there, is busy on the phone approaching a roadblock, and the police have decided to stop him, not wearing a mask. He is carrying passengers there. Some passengers are wearing a mask. That taxi driver is not wearing a mask going to the police. It will be interesting to see how they deal with that. I hope my colleague Bongamkize is showing you that. Look at that. So basically they are dealing with lockdown regulations, alert level 4 here, but equally so they are searching the cars here for what we will call guns and firearms. Yesterday there were reports that when some people were gathering outside former President Jacob Zuma, the gentleman is busy giving the police his driver's license but still no mask on. Interesting to see that happening. Seems as if they are busy dealing with him, processing him for carrying passengers, of course, but when it comes to enforcing the law and regulations of the lockdown, the police officer is wearing a mask, speaking to someone not wearing a mask, asking about passengers inside the car. Seems as if there is no discussion about the mask. This has been going on for a few seconds now. By this time, you would expect that they would have told him to say, hey, man, where is your mask? But anyway, the whole point of this roadblock is to try and search for firearms. There were reports of firearms being discharged yesterday when some people were gathering, going towards, oh, finally the mask is out. The gentleman is taking his time, he's putting it on after a while. So yeah, there we have it. But they are looking for firearms. There were reports that some people had been discharging firearms yesterday. I did not see that nor hear that, but some of my colleagues in the media industry say they saw that. Some people say they heard that. So that was a concern. But most importantly, police were heavily criticized for that gathering yesterday. Look, there were more than 50 people there. We all know that political, social, and other gatherings are not allowed. We are in the midst of a deadly COVID-19 third wave in South Africa. The Delta variant is not playing. So there were police there, I will use the word, monitoring the gathering. And it seems as if that got them into trouble with their bosses, because police's top brass were not really impressed with what happened outside former President Jacob Zuma's home yesterday, because that event was a super spreader event in terms of having too many people gathered there, not socially distancing, not sanitizing, some of them not wearing masks. So today it seems as if police have upped their game. They say they will be beefing up security in anticipation of Sunday Thulasizwe.
All right, thank you for that, Nkandla Koke. I must say that I've enjoyed your commentary. This has been one of the most enjoyable crossings with you in our on-air partnership, in that you know your mischievous streak comes through as you're trying to be serious and tell us a serious story, but your keen eye also tracking the progress of the mask from the dashboard, I suppose, inside that minibus taxi all the way until it is put on by that taxi driver. That's eNCA's finest. That's Nkandla Koke out in Nkandla there tracking that story. You saw for yourself. That's part of his personality there, Nkandla Koke. We love him.